got everything okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no. Oh, God, that's gonna need stitches.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gross.
My knuckle's coming off.
That was a close call. Steve was only a fraction of a centimeter away from losing a finger when the shaft collapsed.
Stuck down the mine shaft, weren't you?
Yeah.
You're a pretty little guy. You need to go look
We
under
never
a
did
rock.
get that film back, but I was lucky to get out of it with only a bad cut. And we did manage to save a couple of skinks that would have been buried in the cave-in.
Here you go, guys. You guys go right under there. Quick, quick. There you go. There you go. Okay.
In places where the land is so arid, the competition for food in the wild can be fierce. A wedge-tailed eagle stands guard over its kill. Other birds of prey and scavengers spotted the food within minutes, hoping to steal a share.
At first, it looks like the crows have won. Hit-and-run tactics show early promise of being rewarded as the wedge-tailed eagle flies away from the food. The kites are ready to move in and fight amongst themselves for the right to feed.
But even with continued dive-bombing attacks, the eagle has no intention of giving up a whole rabbit to smaller birds.
The wedge-tailed eagle is king of the outback skies. And even on the ground, he seems to reinforce that status with his typical strutting walk.
And the main competition now is a single crow that somehow still believes he can beat a wedge-tailed eagle to a dead rabbit.
With his rivals still circling, the eagle decides to move his prey away from the other birds. But even for a wedge-tailed eagle, the weight of a whole rabbit proves too much. In the end, the king of the skies opts for eating out rather than take away in the peace of his own home.
We're now heading into the beautiful stretches in northern South Australia. The Dingo barrier takes us to within a few kilometres of South Australia's huge salt lakes.
We're so close to the biggest lakes in Australia that it's a diversion we'd be silly not to take. These salt lakes have formed in the lowest part of the Australian continent. We're moving down into a wind-swept depression that's 15 meters below sea level.
Here we are at Lake Eyre. Now, this is the driest part of Australia. And on average, it only fills with water once every 8 years.
What's incredible is it takes about 3 months to fill the huge lake and up to 3 years for it all to evaporate and drain off.
One dry area. Now, the catchment area around Lake Eyre is like the Diamantina, the Cooper, and that catchment actually takes up 1/6 of the whole of the country. And it all pours down into Lake Eyre and these dry salt lakes because it doesn't go out into the sea. So it all drains down into this central point.
Now, when Lake Eyre isn't full, like right now, you've still got small pools of water. And in those small pools, which are saltier than seawater, there is still life. Sea lake lice and brine shrimps still exist in the bottom of these little pools.
What a spectacular place.
Lake Eyre is the biggest lake in Australia and the 5th largest in the world. Though like other salt lakes, it's dry most of the time. Early explorers described them as wastelands, useless, barren, and repulsive. But at sunset, the salt lakes of South Australia have a strange, eerie beauty.
Crikey, it's as dry as a dead dingo carcass strung on the fence out here, and it only fully comes to life in those rare times when the rain is heavy and persistent. Our own water supplies have to be replenished every couple of days.
Our water almost always comes from bores or dams. There's very little naturally occurring fresh water, and wherever there is a supply, the native animals share the drinking spots with livestock.
Here, sweetheart. Oh, you're very sweet. Oh, look at this little gem. This is a pygmy goanna. This is one of the smallest goannas in Australia. You can see this one, as small as he is actually full grown. Look at you. We can really easily determine why he's living here. The reason he selected this tree is because he's living near a bore or man-made water hole out here in the desert, and he's able to collect food much more easily because where there's water, of course, there's life. So he would have been eating large insects, other small lizards, just about anything he could get his hands on.
Geez, glamorous, isn't it? These little blokes can escape the extremely hot and dry conditions by sheltering in hollow limbs and hunting in the mornings and the afternoons when the temperature is hot, but not scorchingly hot. And this is as big as they get, Terry. That's full grown.
Yeah, isn't he great?
Yeah, that's a full grown.
Yep. Although he does hunt through the day, if he feels threatened or in any sort of danger, he'll duck down a hollow tree so that hopefully he can escape a predator. Let's just put him back, since he thinks we're a predator. Oh, he thinks I'm a tree, though, and he likes me now. Come on, honey. There you go. Oh, you're beautiful. And there he goes.
What a find.
I wonder where Steve's going to lose this film.
These are two of the least intelligent animals in the Aussie outback. We're not sure whether the emus think they're sheep or whether the sheep think they're emus.
There's still a long way to go on the dingo fence, and we're about to find some surprises when we hit the Nullarbor Plain.
Right throughout the remote areas of South Australia, there are many hazards and signs warn of some of the dangers.
Along the fence, there are poison baits. 1080 is an extremely toxic substance used mainly against dingoes, but it's also effective against foxes and feral cats.
And on top of the 1080 baits, there are leg traps with their claws coated with a fast-acting poison, strychnine. All in all, it's certainly no place to be without permission and without taking care every step of the way.
On my first trip to South Australia, I couldn't resist playing tourist at one of the many ruined homesteads scattered around the state. In the 1860s, farmers arrived full of hope during a rare time of high rainfall. A 20-year drought then forced all but the toughest of them to abandon their homes. As always, we explore. Old sheets of iron never seem to let us down. This time, it's one of Australia's most venomous spiders.
These chunks of tin provide a really good habitat for this redback spider. Redback spiders found throughout Australia. Whoa, you're getting a little bit cranky, are you? See her standing up there, getting very cranky. A little bit cranky. See that? You can see that webbing on her back leg, right? That's a defensive mechanism. When I touch her, she'll try and get me with that, and then follow through with a couple of fangs and give me a good stick. Look back down here. Here's a heap of egg sacs. So she's been laying eggs, hatching out babies for probably quite a while. Quite a large, matured redback. She's a little bit cranky, a little bit cranky. There are several other large salt lakes apart from Lake Eyre in South Australia, and there are many smaller ones. They have crusts of salt up to 1/2 metre thick and occasionally enough water to have a little bit of fun with.
Even though this is part of the most arid region in Australia, you can still run into enough water to make driving difficult. The ground conditions were always changing and always harsh. By the time we'd reached this stage of the journey, we'd had to change every tire on the vehicle.
We've come out of the Salt Lake country now and back to the Dingo fence near Seduna. We're getting closer to the end of our epic drive, but there's still plenty of Australian wildlife to encounter before we reach our destination. It's a brown.
A western brown. He holds a respected spot on the list of the world's most venomous snakes.
We should always treat snakes with respect. And although the western brown is a potentially dangerous creature, if given room to escape, they will always retreat. And grabbing them by the tail is for experts only.
We're now in wombat country. These usually inoffensive animals are probably the biggest danger to this section of the fence. The holes they make open the way for dingoes to breach the barrier and move into sheep country.
We're on the far western perimeter of the dingo fence. This is a triple bunger, poison laid. The triple bunger, you've got your poisons, the mesh fence to stop the dingo, and this is very interesting. Modern technology comes into the fence line here. You've got 4 strands of wire, and they are electrified. I just ran into it before, unfortunately, and by crikey, it packs a wallop. 6,000 volts. Wombats, they pose a real problem to their barrier people in that they dig under the fence. When the wombat comes up, bang, hits that, believe me, there is no way he'd come back into it a second time.
And it has worked. Electric fences virtually eliminate wombat damage and also stop other wildlife being caught in the fence.
We've just knocked over thousands of kilometres of fence line, and we've only got about 300 left to go, but I'm sure there's going to be a few surprises all the way to the end.
From here, we've decided to travel along the original dingo fence, which goes further west than the current barrier and further into the Nullarbor Plain and more wombat territory.
We're down here on the Nullarbor Plain, and all these holes that you can see around me, these are wombats. They're the southern hairy-nosed wombat, and there's only a handful of them left, only found in this area. So it's very important that we try and study, understand, and maintain what wombats we've got left. Now, there's a very unfortunate predicament here for the wombat, and that is the competition between him and rabbits. Now, the rabbits, firstly, they're competing for food. That's a main point. So the food competition is knocking them around severely. The other thing is the rabbits are getting in there, they're using their tunnels, and slowly but surely, they're pushing them out. Now, this is a live wombat burrow here. You can see, really easy to tell, fresh dung. Probably early this morning. Real problem for the wombat, that competition between him and rabbits, but equally as importantly, we've got a combination of feral dogs breeding with the dingo, and they're certainly taking their fair share of the wombats.
The original section of dingo fence has been replaced by a new fence further east. But in places, the old fence still does the job of holding back the movements of these wild dogs. The old fence was abandoned years ago, and eventually, if they follow the fence line for long enough, dingoes will get through one of the many gaps that have appeared in the mesh.
Throughout our entire drive, we haven't seen a single live dingo. But getting camera shots of the fence from the air flushed them out of their hiding places in the countless wombat burrows.
It's only from the air that we can see just how many dingoes can hide in an apparently empty area. The dingoes seem surprised that their speed isn't enough. They look back, bewildered by the strange sight of people and cameras flying above them.
Snake! Sure you stay in the truck. Right. Hey. Whoop. Now what we got here, this is a brown snake. See a couple of lumps in his belly. Probably got a belly full of skinks. Now out here on the dingo fence, we've been coming across a fair few snakes, and that presents a few interesting problems for the barrier fence people for repairing the fence line, but they are quite non-aggressive unless provoked. To tell you the truth, I have more trouble with the barbed wire than I do with the brown snakes. Nice little specimen. We'll just let him go on his way.
More than 5,000 kilometers after we started from southeast Queensland, Steve and I can almost smell the ocean.
The last post of the longest fence in the world is finally within our reach. Happy days!
Look at the view!
Wow! This is just great.
We made it! I can't believe it. I can't believe we finally made it.
This is one of the most spectacular parts of the Australian coastline, and also the winter home of the southern right whale. Such a spectacular end to such a long journey. So many whales so close.
Wow! This is the day of my life. This is unbelievable. We've just traveled thousands and thousands of kilometers through the most arid parts of Australia. And look at this, just look. Wow, am I excited. This is brilliant.
Well, it's been a long trip, but this is our reward. This is a southern right whale, and we're very lucky to get to see them. There's only about 3,000 left in the entire world, so we're happy to see that they're breeding and doing well.
We're only a couple of 100 feet from them. You feel like you just reach out there and pat them. To be able to get here and enjoy this is absolutely superb. Once in a lifetime, I guess.
After the break, those amazing whales teaching their calves to survive in the open sea. Right there in front of us were 40 whales, 20 mothers and 20 calves born just 2 or 3 months ago.
Every whale is individually identified by those lumps on their noses known as callosities. It's a mixture of whale lice, barnacles and hardened skin. Every southern right whale develops a different shape and it stays with them right through their lives.
The mothers came to this part of the Great Australian Bight specifically to give birth. The calves would have frozen to death in the cold Antarctic waters where they spend the rest of the year. That nuzzling is just what it seems, affection between a mother and its baby. The calf is always trying to keep eye contact with its mother.
These whales just love touching each other. Even when they're fully grown, southern right whales will rub against each other out of pure, affectionate good nature.
And the dolphins also seem to be joining the whales in a free show just for us, with all the tricks they perform in an oceanarium.
While they're here, the baby whales will suckle almost continuously and put on an enormous amount of weight in the form of blubber to insulate them against the cold of the waters further south.
When they were born, they weighed about 1 ton. The calves we're looking at now have put on around 10 tons each in the last few months. They're almost ready for the waters of the Antarctic.
Look at this interaction with the calf and the mother. She's rolling around. Calf will probably go underneath and suckle. This is just the most amazing thing to have happen right in front of us, only a couple of 100 feet away.
As well as putting on weight, the babies are also learning survival skills. They start life being rather clumsy. They even have to be taught how to breathe properly.
Wow, look at the top.
By the time they leave, they will have learned enough for life in the open ocean. Since 1935, the southern right whale has been protected. These are very precious animals, and it's important to maintain them, respect them, learn about them, and preserve them in the wild.
We've taken them to the brink of extinction. And here's a classic example of how beautiful these creatures are. We've really got to look after them.
This area is now being declared a marine park, and that should help protect this important nursery.
These whales were given the name the right whale when they were hunted during the last century. It was because they were just right for killing. They came close to shore, they had plenty of blubber, and they floated when they were dead.
We've got to learn from the mistakes of our past. It's amazing to think we're still taking animals to the brink of extinction.
The southern right whale has no natural predators that could so completely exterminate them. Let's learn to live with these gentle giants while there's still time.
Well, we've just completed our mammoth journey, 5,309 kilometres along the longest fence in the world. And by crikey, we've had a good time. The wildlife's been beautiful, and what a dramatic end to the journey.
It's been a real tribute to the men and women who work so hard to maintain this incredible fence.
the Iceman's in for non-stop action because the boys are back and better than ever, and a dynamite joyride jam-packed with everything Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte could possibly fit into another 48 hours. Tonight's premiere movie. You're about to see reports from the world's most respected current affairs network. 60 Minutes next on Channel 2.